everyone. Welcome to The Zest, the official podcast of Orange Coast Magazine. I'm Chelsea Rainieri, and today's guests are the founders of Beek, a handcrafted women's shoe brand, which was founded in Newport Beach and is sold in stores including Nordstrom and Anthropologie. Beek has been featured in Elle, Vanity Fair, and of course, Orange Coast, and worn by celebrities like Margot Robbie. Thank you so much for being here today, Birgit Klett and Kenna Florie.
Hi. Thanks for having us.
Of course. I heard you guys speak on a panel like years ago at Segerstrom. It was like in a building right next to Segerstrom.
Right.
You remember this?
I don't remember, but I do.
It was like,
I hope it was okay.
Oh no, it was like that. I was so excited to get to talk with you guys because I loved learning about your story and all the great, like inspirational things that you guys had to say. So I've been looking forward to this.
Thank you.
Of course. So to start, Birgit, you designed footwear for more than 26 years at brands including Kenneth Cole, Sam Edelman, and Roxy. How did you get into footwear design?
So this dates me quite a bit. And it was actually longer than 26 years. That's a really old number. So I started with a company called Esprit, which was a really great young fashion brand in San Francisco. And that's kind of where I started. I started in their very first retail store, which was the coolest store in LA. It was their flagship, and all the celebrities shopped there and brought their daughters. And the guy who was running the footwear department, he was president of footwear for Esprit up in San Francisco. His name is Sam Edelman. So he has since, started a couple different brands, and everybody knows about Sam Edelman. So he actually hired me off the floor to work for him up in San Francisco. And I started in sales and relatively quickly realized that that was not my God-given talent. And so I really became interested in design. And so he kind of mentored me to start. And then I ended up moving to New York. And my first design job was Kenneth Cole. And I had no clue what I was doing, and just sort of got thrown into the water. And that's kind of like how I started. And I've just been doing it ever since. I absolutely love it. I would say that I really never feel like I'm going to work. Like, I absolutely love what I do in that creative process. So that's kind of how I started. And I just ended up, after Esprit, I was there for like 14 years. And after they got sold, I ended up being hired by a surf brand down in San Diego. So that's kind of been my entree. That's how I got back into Southern California. And then eventually started working for Roxy, which is a surf brand. And that's where I met Kenna.
Wow. And did you grow up in Southern California?
No, I grew up back east. I actually grew up in Pennsylvania. But right after college, it was like, okay, I'm out. Enough of this. My mother was always obsessed with California. So California was always like the goal in my family. Somebody had to have something to do with California. So I was the one. Right after college, I moved out. So yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And then Kenna, you worked at Quicksilver for 14 years and held executive positions in marketing and sales. What first drew you to marketing?
When I was I always knew I wanted to do marketing for some reason. It was like a thing for me. I'm convinced that I can talk anybody into buying things.
She can. She can also talk to people into starting a company.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, whoa. We'll get to that later. I'm still convinced you were the one who came up with that idea, but we'll get to that later. I love marketing. I love creating a story and looking at the pretty pictures and colors and putting it all together and getting the emotional feeling of a brand. And so when I was in college, I went into Santa Barbara with a communications degree. I graduated and immediately went to USC for grad school at Annenberg, which was a focus on communications also. So I've been like one of those weird kids that kind of knew what I wanted to do from the beginning. So never in my wildest dreams would I ever thought that I would have started a footwear company, because truth be told, I don't like shoes all that much. Yeah. I do now, and I love what we've created, but probably because I didn't love shoes that much, because I always thought shoes were kind of uncomfortable and not, wasn't my jam. But we created something that I just feel so pretty and feminine and comfortable and everything. And so when Birgit and I started talking about doing something, like that's the type of stuff that gets me excited because I love launching things and creating the story and putting all the bells and whistles with it. So, it was a traditional kind of entree into marketing in that I went to college, then I went to grad school, and then I did an internship with the with the San Diego Chargers because I thought I wanted to do sports marketing. I had a minor in sports marketing. So I really thought I wanted to be in this traditional sports arena, and then sent out, 15 resumes to different sports companies and kind of last minute threw in Quicksilver as like a sports company. And they're the ones who called and said, we have a position for you. So I was like, I guess I'm going into surf, which I didn't even consider a sport, to be honest. I was like, that's a thing. Yeah. And then ended up there for 14 years, just kind of rising through the ranks. I think that they all thought I was the weirdest person in the world because I was one of the only people with like a traditional educational background. So.
Oh, interesting. Well, okay. Funny side note. I actually interned in marketing and PR at DC and Quicksilver from 2012 to 2014.
Wow. No way. Yeah. Wait, what years?
2012 to 2014 with Kristen and Kehlani.
Oh my God. That's hysterical.
That's awesome.
When did I leave Quicksilver? I left in 2013.
And I left in 2014. Yeah. You were there when we were there.
Yeah.
You overlapped Kenna a year and you overlapped me 2 years.
Yeah. So at that point I was head of Quicksilver Women's. Mm-hmm. So, which is also not my talent, running sales. Were
you in the Roxy area?
What's that?
That was Birgit. Were you in the Roxy little area?
I was. I was.
Okay, I was running back and forth between that little internship desk that was by Kristen and Kehlani.
So funny.
So I probably met you for sure when I was interning there.
Oh, you for sure did not meet her because she doesn't like talking and like mixing it up. You never see her anywhere. I only met her because she and I would meet for iced teas at the restaurant.
I loved the restaurant.
That nobody really knows.
That's not true.
So true.
But I am an introvert. I am, and this one clearly is not. But I'm sure that we passed each other.
I'm sure we passed each other.
Yeah.
I think you've met.
Yeah. That was such a great place for you to do an internship, I'm sure. Like such good energy.
Oh my God. Such great energy, and like all the freebies that I got was so nice.
Yeah.
Like
sample closet. God, I wish we could go back to
yes, exactly.
Again.
Yeah. So it's crazy though, like how many entrepreneurs came out of Quicksilver. Like you guys, I interviewed Randy Fry recently. He started a Muse Society, Slow Tide. Do you guys have a theory of like why Quicksilver was this incubator for entrepreneurship?
I do. I think it's Bob McKnight.
I think so too.
Bob loved that stuff. Like he was the leader of our company and
he's an entrepreneur. So he started it from scratch. So I think that environment really fostered, instead of some companies, corporate environments, they keep it very like closed. Mm-hmm. This had a very, like he had no problem with his employees actually starting little side things. Mm-hmm. It was actually encouraged.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that it's all from the top down, as it always is. And
he'd get genuinely like excited for anybody who was starting something new, and like he kind of thrived it. Like he loved it.
He loved it. He loved that energy.
Yeah.
So it was a great. I mean,
you often hear about, like, he doesn't talk about it, and this isn't the Bob McKnight show, but we love him.
Yeah.
But he would invest in employees starting outside businesses, even. Yeah, like personally invest in them.
So unusual.
Yeah,
I mean that's so unusual.
Yeah, he sounds like an amazing person.
He's rad. He was one of our only two board of advisors when we started Beek, before we even launched in the marketplace. We took him out for dinner at Billy's, and gave him a couple of Mai Tais and said, "Bob, will you be on our advisory board?" And he's like, "What? Sure, that sounds fun."
It's like, we don't even have a company, but we can borrow your expertise.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Beek, how did you guys come up with the idea?
Okay, well, this is where we disagree a little bit.
Yeah.
We do. Okay. So what we do know is that Birgit came over to meet my second child. So he was like a babe. I mean,
we were friends. We got to be friends. We got to be friends at Quicksilver. Kenna was head of marketing and I was head of design, and we would have to travel together all over the place.
Yes.
So when she had her second child, she invited me over. Port was a baby. It was
6 days. I mean, it was early, under 2 weeks. I've got to guess.
Under 2 weeks.
Although maybe it's a blur back then. So who knows? Maybe it's 2 months. But we were having a glass of wine together, and we started talking about, kind of wanting to lead big business. I had already left Quicksilver, but Birgit was still there. And then this is where the story kind of gets muddy, because she swears that I said it. I swear that she said it. But one of us said we should do our own thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was very odd, because from like that very second, and that's what's so weird is that neither of us can remember exactly who said it.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like, it clicked. It was like, let's do it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it was very clear who was going to. Not that we knew how many roles we would have to play. We were so clueless, but we knew there was marketing and we knew that there was design.
Yeah.
And I'm a shoe designer. I mean, it's really all I've ever done, sadly. Yeah. So it was going to be a shoe company for sure.
Yeah.
And then within even that very, very first conversation, I knew exactly what the concept was in terms of product. Yeah. And as soon as I knew exactly what that was, I feel like Kenna was like, it knew exactly
the story,
what the story was.
Yeah.
And how to tell it. Like it just went.
We formed our S Corp within 2 weeks of that glass of wine. Yeah. So it was fast.
We're meant to be very focused people. It's a nice
crazy.
I interviewed someone who said like, if something comes so easily to you, it's meant to be. It's like, meant to
and I think that we had both been in situations where we had been approached by other people about starting businesses. Yeah. But both of us, funny enough, by people who were too similar to us, like me by another marketer, her by another designer. And I think that it was the first time we kind of started thinking about like, oh, this makes more sense. Yeah. We have different talents. Like we have different passions. We have different talents. Yeah. We have different ways of thinking about things. Yeah. So it was like, okay, this actually might work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that it's always rough when two designers decide to start a business, marketers. And, you kind of have to look at starting a business. It's like, it's like a tripod, right? Yeah. There needs to be product, there needs to be marketing, and then there needs to be business. So we had the two, and then we had just two and three. And then we just kind of winged it.
Yeah.
For the third.
For the business.
Yeah.
And things just kind of fell in place with that one. It very oddly, like, it's not a conventional way of thinking about things. Like it's so, because again, I'm not going to call myself a creative because marketing for me is a little bit more nuts and bolts too. But, you've got two people who don't think necessarily about the business way of starting a company. But it was like immediately Birgit took over the day-to-day finances because she's just a lot better at it than I am.
Yeah.
And I like to spend money. So someone had to tell me to stop spending money sometimes.
Marketing.
And then but weirdly, I take over. Still today, we each maintain these areas where I look at the big picture though. So I maintain the P&L and kind of the yearly finances. So it's so odd. I mean, it's so odd how roles kind of come out and they just start kind of falling in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It was very clearly delineated. And then I would say, right away, all this stuff came at us that we had to figure out. And it was like, okay, you take that one, you take that one, you take that one.
And sometimes it was like, I am really bad at this, but I am still slightly better than you. So I'll take it. Or like, and you have to like really check your ego and like, okay, we both kind of suck at this. So who sucks less at this? Or who in our Rolodex can we call Rolodex? Right. That really dated us. I never even used a Rolodex. I think I grew up with my parents saying Rolodex. It's just a buzzer. Yeah. But like, who do we know in our contacts who we can call and be like, we have no idea how to do this. Can you please help us?
Yeah. And I think that we were old enough to realize what we didn't know.
Yeah.
We'd been involved in enough businesses to sort of see what works and what doesn't work and really be able to take that information and we were part lucky and we also part made some really good decisions early on based on maybe some mistakes that we'd seen other people make or the successes of other people.
Or gut instinct.
Or gut instinct.
I mean, a couple times we went left when everybody else told us to go right.
Yeah, for sure. So it's an interesting sort of mix of like arrogance, like somehow weirdly we thought we knew better. So we would take those rolls of the dice and would generally win. And then on the flip side, we knew what we didn't do what we didn't know. So we had no problem asking people. I mean, at first, I don't know, 9 months to a year, we were taking meetings with absolutely everyone, like 3 days a week, like coffee this, lunch that, like just like picking everybody's brain and not worrying that maybe it makes us look like we didn't know what we were doing because we didn't.
Because we didn't know what we were doing. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of when someone tried to steer you a certain way and you guys trusted your instincts and it worked out?
Well, top of mind, remember how many people told us that we should never, ever, ever say that our product lasts forever?
Yeah.
We were like, we're going to build our entire foundation on product that you can keep for the rest of your life. And people were like, that is a terrible, terrible, terrible idea. And we're like, we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And why did they think it was a terrible idea?
Because they want, the process of building a business and like making money and kind of getting it going is like, you want them buying 2 pairs, every other month. And you're trying to create a cycle of like buying and throwing away and buying and throwing away. And we were like, but we don't want disposable product. Like we're selling, $280 sandals. And the reason they're relatively expensive is because we use the highest grade leather we can find. They are the most comfortable sandals you're ever going to wear. They should get better and better looking over time. Like you should keep them in your closet forever and love them and live in them. And like all these stories of like keeping them forever. And people were like, that is an awful business model. And we're like, well, you know what? We're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense because so many pairs of shoes. Oh, sorry, go on.
That was so important to us because we came from, it wasn't fast fashion, but it was definitely
disposable fashion.
Disposable. Yeah. I mean, I guess it was fast fashion.
Trendy.
Like I remember having to build lines. I would design and have produced like, I don't know, 250 styles in a year. Like it was like fast. I mean, it was just like, and we started with 6. We started with 6 styles. And
what was the inspiration for the 6?
What we wanted.
Yeah. What we couldn't find.
What we wanted and couldn't find.
Oh, really? What was that at the time?
So it was sandals that we couldn't find that we wanted, like even in the US. So it was like, we sort of immediately went to our closets and what were our favorite sandals? Like, which are the ones that you go to summer after summer? And they'd be the ones that you bought on a trip in Italy or in Spain or even in Mexico, and those were the ones that we would sort of go back to. And it's like, okay, we want to recreate that feeling, and make them available to everybody that we know and, to people that are, like us. And it's just really, really hard to find. So it was just about like finding that white space that wasn't being addressed. And it was really clear to us right from the beginning.
And I think what Birgit designed for the first collection, what I personally loved about it so much was there was kind of this imperfect feeling to it, which you really can only find when you are traveling. Like when you go into a little cobbler in Italy and he hand makes a pair of shoes that are just for you. They're not perfect, there's like a story to them. There's a patina that happens to the leather when it gets wet and because you wore them out in the ocean, the waves rolled over your feet and like all these different things that happen to good quality footwear that is so imperfect. And what I loved about our first collection, and I still love about our collection today, is that we're not trying to create this really crisp, refined, crisp, perfect product. It is about, this classic, timeless, imperfect beauty that, is still very much a part of the collection today.
Yeah.
Yeah. It feels found rather than mass produced.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is why it should be in your closet forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where are the shoes made? And can you kind of talk about what the process is and what they're made out of?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, you said leather,
when we started, and up until very, very recently, 100% of the sandals were made in Mexico. And we chose Mexico for a couple, like just really logistics reasons. Like it's super close. It's almost like an extension of California in a way. I mean, I think we both spent a lot of time, like when we were for Kenna, her teenage years, and me when I was in my 20s.
Don't tell my parents that my teenage years were in Mexico.
Across the border, but we were like so used, like that was just such an easy part of our lives. It's right there. Yeah. And it's also one of the few places on the planet where shoemaking is still a skill that's handed down from generation to generation. And, there are small factories that make shoes by hand. And there's very few places in the world where you can get that done.
Yeah.
So, and plus I had, once again, back to the Rolodex, I had a friend from like ages ago who was working in Mexico in the shoe industry. And I just called him up and I said, hey, Michael, I want to start this thing. Can you find a factory for me? And he helped us find a little boutique family-owned factory in Guadalajara. And, it was like one of the few places I think that would have stuck with us. So it took about 10 months for them to for us to work together and create the sandal of our dreams and the sandal of my dreams for sure. So, and that first style is still in our collection now. So that was one of the 6. And so really it's an all leather sole and it has a molded leather arch. And at that point, it would take about 2 days to make every pair of sandals. That process has since been refined as our business grew. That became like not sustainable. But so basically it's like sorry for the label. It's an all leather sole. And it has a molded leather arch. And as you wear them, this is called the ball of the foot, it actually breaks down and becomes really, really flexible and kind of molds to your foot.
Wow.
So it's an all leather insole and all leather outsole.
Which could really only happen if it is all leather. That's
right.
Which is why, again, we wanted to use all A grade leather that can break down. It's like a nice men's dress shoe. Even the same thing happens because the entire outsole is leather. So men will keep their dress shoes for 20 years and get them resold. Mm-hmm. It's the same concept. Like when you use quality products and all leather, then they will mold to your foot.
Yeah. And then we wanted these like little nails all around. And that's actually how the soles get held together. It's certainly a component of that. And then we decided on we don't like overt branding. It's not how we are personally. So the only branding on the outside of the shoe is our 2 like little side nails.
Cute.
The side nails were actually really, really funny because I'm like, okay, I have
another thing we were told not to do.
Because normally branding is on the outside of the shoe or on the back of the shoe or on the top of the shoe. Like nobody really does it on the inside of the shoe. And our reasoning was women sit with their legs crossed.
Yes.
In a cafe or whatever. So you actually do see it, but it's subtle, Yeah. And we wanted 2. For Kenna and I, it was kind of like representative
a little bit of a representation.
And so it was really hard in the beginning. I'm like, okay, where do I get these nails made? It was like a little hard. The first ones were actually roof tacks that I ordered.
I remember those.
Yes. I remember
actually re-putting a lot of those in.
I'm like, that's exactly my butt.
Yeah.
Anyway, they didn't stay in very well.
They didn't stay in
so
very well.
So we figured it out. It was one of the little things that we worked through.
Yeah.
One of many. But so that's kind of was our first construction. It's still in the collection now, and it's still our favorites. I mean, I think the shoes that I'm wearing right now are probably 8 years old. They're from that first construction run, and I'm still wearing them.
Yep.
And they're like my most comfortable go-to sandals.
Yeah, the Finch is amazing.
I know. I know.
What was was the first one the Finch that you were showing me?
She's wearing the Finch also.
I'm wearing the Finch.
She's wearing an 8-year-old pair
I don't
of
really
Finch.
need to
They
hold
should
them
not
up.
be on camera.
They should not be on camera, but I love them.
So it's so funny to me because a lot of the shoes that I have, I still invest in them and they still hurt so bad. And like I'm taking them off during a wedding or whatever it is, and it drives me nuts. But Beek is known for combining style with comfort and craftsmanship. So how do you balance all three of these elements in your designs?
It's actually, I mean, I have to say it goes back to, again, what we want. We have a really clear filter. We wouldn't wear it. It's not in the collection. If it's not instantly comfortable, it's not in the collection.
Wow.
And, just kind of go on gut. Like we both dress really simply and we really like that classic sort of a look. So we'll do, some nods to, this and that and just to sort of keep some, make it fun. But I would say in general, they're like really just easy, comfortable. They kind of go with everything.
We get the most excited when Birgit, especially when she's showing the collection, because we do very formal presentations internally of the collection. But she and I will usually merchandise it, the two of us first, and kind of like, this one's out kind of thing. But like the most exciting is when she designs something that is super feminine and beautiful and it makes you feel really pretty, but it's just like instantly comfortable. Yeah. We were like, God, we really can't have both. Why do we like on thinking that if it's uncomfortable, it's cool? Like, first off, we don't want to be cool. Like, it's not what we're striving for. Like, but we do. I mean, we're women. We want to feel beautiful. We want to look good. We want to feel feminine. Yeah. You can actually have both.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's so funny now I think about it. All my husband's favorite shoes, like I've never heard him once complain about like his shoes hurting him.
No, they don't do that.
Guys don't put up with it.
Yeah.
No, right. Nor should we.
Right, exactly. So true. And you launched sneakers a few years ago. How did you come up with that design? And where do you find inspiration for new designs?
So again, it kind of goes back to us, but I also, I'm less about looking, because a lot of designers just in general are, shopping stores. Like they're looking at stores and they're looking at what's happening on the runway and blah, blah, blah. I look at what people are wearing. And, how they put it together is always so fascinating to me. I think I find personal style so fascinating. Again, we're not super like designer driven. That doesn't interest me. It doesn't like inspire me all that much. I love seeing how people sort of put it all together. And like, I'm super interested in like hairstyles, like so many different things, and then travel is always a huge inspiration, like just getting out of your little world. And it's such a great world. And there's so many cool women and so many cool things going on in art and in interiors and all that stuff. I think I look holistically at a lot of different things. And then it's just about, does it make sense for us? Does it make sense in the collection? Because the thing is, we've both seen this. I've seen brands that lose their way by trying to be too many things and chasing the shiny object of the season. Whether it's a huge lug bottom mock, that's all great. It's great for other people, but it's not for us, So I think having watched so many brands lose their way, and I'm sure Kenna has seen the same thing with marketing. It's not just in design. It's just the DNA of your brand is like something that needs to be protected.
Yeah.
And so in the end, that filter is the most important filter that we put everything through.
And often we have people trying to talk us into doing designs that you don't want to do, or redoing our logo and updating everything and making it why?
Yeah.
This is what we want to do. This is what we stand for. And we don't want to abandon our customer. We don't want to be someone we're not.
Yeah. And it
doesn't feel good.
It is truly something to protect. I think we both feel so lucky, that we were friends before. We're really, really close friends now. Yeah. And so lucky about our relationship, our friendship, what we've built together, and we protect that, like all of that.
We're very protective of that.
Yeah.
Because that can go sideways fast when it starts getting stressful too.
Like even in the people that we used to put ourselves with in the business, they're all friends.
Yeah.
And we have a great filter.
Yes, we have a great filter. We have a very, very intricate filter as to whether we will hire someone for the company. And that is, if we don't want to have a glass of wine with you, then we don't hire you. Which I know sounds funny, but we've had it from the very beginning. And you can't imagine how many times people have walked out and I'd be like, I don't want to have a glass of wine with that person. I don't either. So we'll just be like, they seem super smart, but I don't think we can hire them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it works really, I mean, it's metaphorical by all means. Basically, like if we don't have a good feeling about the person and we don't want to hang out with them socially, if you're going to be bummed because you have to do a flight to New York with them, then you know what? Life's too short. Like we can find, with our lots of smart people out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very true.
We have the best team.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It very much seems like that. But that ethos that you're talking about sticking to your authenticity and keeping the shoes simple kind of goes to your ethos, I think I said ethos again, but goes to what you were speaking about before of the shoe lasting forever. It's not something that's just going to be trending and go out in and out of your closet, which brings me to the sustainability, which is a significant aspect of Beek. So can you talk about the sustainable practices you use?
Yeah, definitely. So just even having decided to produce in Mexico, part of the other reason that we went there is they have beautiful leather, obviously, but also they have become very focused on like their tanneries. Obviously, leather is like a huge industry down there. So the leather that we use is actually a byproduct of the meat industry. And it's actually more sustainable to take those hides and process them in our tanneries, which are all gold rated tanneries, than to throw them away. It's actually better to use them. So all of our tanneries, as I said, are gold rated, which means that they have very strict sustainability guidelines. And also, it goes without saying, like even social, like the way that they treat their employees, who they hire, how they treat them. There's a super, super high standard. So we will only use tanneries that are gold rated. And
we will only use tanneries that use leather from the food industry.
Right.
So, I mean, I know that's a subject that just sounds
kind of gross to talk
about, but it's really, really important that we are never using leather that would have not already been going to waste anyways, in essence.
Right. And then that leather is also biodegradable. So
leather by nature is biodegradable.
Exactly. But as much as we possibly can, we use, this is vegetable tanned, which means there's no toxins. We don't use any toxins in our dyes or in our treatments of the leather. They're like as natural as possible, which is also super, super important to us.
We make every effort to use anything that's natural. That's not to say that we don't have a couple components here and there that we have to use. Sometimes the glues that we have to use are not, but our product would fall apart. And that's not a good thing either, because then that goes into a landfill.
Right.
But I mean, we often our shoes will be 95% biodegradable.
Yeah. Which feels really good.
Yeah.
And then also just with Mexico, just being able to truck the goods in is much better than, flying shoes in, even like freight cargo, like going over, like it's just the best. It's just the best vehicle to use to import the goods. And it's a pretty short distance. So,
and then on that note, all of our boxes. So these are things that you just don't think about, but our boxes all fold basically to create flat, so that everything can be shipped flat, because you don't want to ship shoe boxes all over the place that are already put together, because it takes up a ton of space, and then you're using fuel, you're using trucks, you're using ships, you're doing airplanes, everything like that when it comes to footwear. So we specifically designed a box that starts out flat, gets folded into a shoe box, and then the consumer, and we actually have something on the box that shows how you can lay it back flat again so that you can put it into your recycling
and they're all made from recycled.
It's like the little things like that.
All recycled paper.
Wow.
So yeah,
have you guys been?
It's really, really important to us, and it's something that we're constantly like, can we do it better? Is there a better way?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, which is an important part of our story. Our focus charity-wise is on giving back to children, and it has been from the very beginning. But a secondary part of that, what we focus on constantly with the brand, is the environmental impact.
Yep.
Yeah. Speaking of the charity work that you do, can you talk about the work with Second Harvest Food Bank? Is that the one?
Yeah, we were just there last week.
Yeah, we were.
Wow.
We were handing them their check. Every year we have a meeting with them. Handing them their check.
The only check we like writing every year. So from the very beginning, before we even launched the brand, we decided that we wanted to focus on feeding children specifically, much because we at the time were experiencing with a dear friend of the brand, of both Birgit and I, who was trying to foster a child in Orange County at the time. And he was the original child that she fostered. His name is Jonathan, sweetest little boy ever, was found in the back of a U-Haul. He was 4 years old at 1 o'clock in the morning with only a bag of Weber's white bread as like his only food. And it was less than a mile away from our office. Yeah. So it was one of those like moments where you're like, we were trying to figure out at the time, like we knew we wanted to have a give back part of the company, and we knew we wanted to do it from the very beginning so that nobody could be like, well, that's too much money to be donated. Like when you're small, you can do it. And no one's like, no one really, says boo about it. So we wanted to build it into our P&L from the beginning, and our cost of goods actually. And so we decided then and there that we wanted to focus on feeding children. So we did a ton of research, figured out that Feeding America, the national organization, has kind of a subset program called Kids Cafe. And Kids Cafe was run through the Second Harvest Food Bank in our local area. So we made a meeting with the Second Harvest Food Bank, and bless their hearts, like we literally didn't have a dime to our name yet. But we were like, we want your charity to be, the charity of choice for Beek. And they were so sweet about it, sat down for an hour with us, let us tour 2 different kids cafes. We took it very seriously because we knew that like once this was established, it was going to be like our thing. And we were hoping to stay with them forever. So we sat down with them, asked them how much, and the kids cafe program is amazing. The child basically gets dropped off before school. They get fed a breakfast. They get walked to school, or they get lunch at school. They come back again. They get to do their homework. They get fed like dinner, and then they kind of go home. So it is great in 2 ways. First off, it feeds them and makes sure that they're getting healthy, nutritious food, but also makes it so the parents can work because it's kind of built-in babysitting. So the program was amazing. So we sat down with them and we asked them, how much does it cost to feed a child in the Kids Cafe program from start of day to end of day for 1 full day? And they gave us that number, and we factored it into our cost of goods from the beginning. So we've been in partnership with them from the very beginning of launch. We just handed them over a sizable check last Thursday, and it feels amazing every single time we get to do it. So
yeah.
Wow. You guys have created like the perfect company, perfect shoe.
Well, we could also talk about all the mistakes we've made if you'd like to. Maybe that'll be a second podcast.
Well, is there anything coming up for listeners to keep an eye out for? Any new shoe releases or anything that you want to mention?
Wow. So we're about to launch.
We're about to launch fall, which is so pretty. I get to see that from the designer. It's so good though.
Yeah. So we started out just with sandals and very quickly realized that was going to be unsustainable because we want to ship product all year round.
Well, also we just wanted it. It goes back to that selfish thing.
There are a few chilly days here in Southern California. So we're super excited. We have some new categories, like we're doing our first ballerina, and we're doing like a collection. And we always have like great boots.
We've got like some fun. Bougie is not the word that I usually use for the brand, but it's like some beautiful shearling slides that just make you want to like cozy in and like drink a martini at home. Like they're so good. I love them. The collection's so fun. I just did the fall catalog first round on fall catalog this morning. So I was like, I was texting Birgit. I'm like, it looks so good. Yeah. I want to wear everything.
I've been like on the hunt for a pair of ballet flats that won't murder my ankle or like heels. So that's amazing that you're helping with that.
And they actually, even our closed toe product has an arch. built in. So, I mean,
and a cushioned sole.
It's like hidden comfort, it's like, it's not overt comfort.
Yeah.
It's, they're really, really like stylish, cute shoes, but they are instantly comfortable. So we might have a ballet for you.
But also she's so obsessed with like the shape of the shoe. I never understood because I never came from footwear before, but like the shape of the toe is really what establishes the femininity of the shoe. Definitely. So like our ballet, like she showed us for the first time, we were all like, oh my God, this is the ballet we've been looking for. Cause you want to wear it with your long jeans, you want to wear it with your dresses, but like you want to look down and not have it look like clunky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's so beautiful. And it's like buttery soft. She used
oh my gosh. Well, thank you for bringing that to the world. Well, we're coming to the end of our time, but before I let you guys go, I have 3 final questions for you that we call the thoughtful 3. So first, what characteristics do you feel helped you guys succeed?
Ooh, stubbornness.
Ooh,
is that a word?
I actually love that answer.
Stubbornness is, I would say, we're very driven. We're very focused.
And we're very stubborn.
And we think that this is so much fun. So it doesn't feel like hard work. I mean, it is hard work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there are days that are definitely hard. But in the end, I think that one of the reasons it's successful is because our partnership is successful.
Friendship. Actually, I'm going to trump all of them with, it all comes back to she and I are best friends. Like we cry together, we laugh together, we make fun of each other, we make fun of ourselves. And we just, and kind of goes back to we have a lot of fun doing this. And I think hopefully it's reflected in the collection.
Yeah.
I love that so much. What moments in your career have had the most significant impact on who you are today?
Oh, wow.
Moments in our career.
Big question.
I think for me, it was the first time that I was trusted as a pretty young person. I was in my 20s by a company, by an employer, to design a collection soup to nuts. Like just having been given that, having that trust put in me gave me it was such a boost of confidence for me. And I wouldn't say that I was never not confident. Okay, I was about to tell a lie.
Yeah.
I would have probably you would have. But I think that understanding of I can so sign up for this and be successful, like that was a pivotal moment for me.
Yeah.
I don't know what would be for me for my career.
I think it's me.
It's forming a friendship and partnership with Birgit Klett. I mean, I probably had some like, the wins along the way, maybe, I guess. I mean, also I had this love for kind of climbing the corporate ladder. I don't know why. I just did. But then like, I kind of felt like I was starting to feel stagnant a little bit, not stagnant in that I couldn't have gone farther. I remember actually, trying to make that decision as to whether I was going to go for bigger positions in my career or if we were going to start this. And I think so many people trusted in us and we'd sit down with them. I mean, even we raised money within, the first year of us starting
without any product or anything.
And boy, is that an ego check. I mean, it's an ego check, but then it's an ego boost at the same time where you're sitting. I mean, we always jokingly said, you feel like you're going, here's my baby. Isn't my baby so cute? Tell me what my baby is. And by the way, do you want to buy 1% of my baby? It's horrible. It's a terrible experience, but it really it also in effect boosts your confidence too, because every single one of them was like, hey, we're not investing in Beek because, we actually know the brand. We just like you guys. We just, have faith in what you guys can do. And we're like, okay, which is nerve-wracking too, but you're like, we can do this. Okay. All right. We got this.
Yeah. This is so fun.
What an incredible feeling that must have been. I definitely would have had to check my ego because I would be feeling so good about myself.
Well, but then you also are like trying to sell your baby. So, there's too.
And then lastly, how do you approach risk and uncertainty now versus how you did when you were first starting out Beek?
Oh God, I miss the risk a little bit. Don't you?
Really?
Like, yeah, I mean, we'd still take risks, but like, it was funny. We have a standing coffee every week where we sit down and we just chit chat. Like 85% of it is personal, probably, and the other 15% is business. But we always have coffee or lunch every single week, no matter what. And we were literally just talking about how like we need to do a couple like new things that we haven't done in a while. Cause you know, sometimes it just gets a little bit more comfortable, I guess.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Not that comfortable is not good, but like, I don't want to take some risks again.
It's such an adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Like in the beginning, it is, I mean, it's kind of scary, but I would say we weren't super scared. I think we were, I don't even know what
we were dumb and I don't know, younger.
We just did it. But there's that adrenaline and there's that freshness that I think that we're kind of feeling now again. Like, I think we're sort of like, we're looking for that.
Yeah.
And as soon as you think that way, you manifest it. I mean, we both believe that really, really strongly. So I think we're just like, okay, what's happening next? Because we're manifesting something.
I mean, I think one of my favorite things that we would do when we were, you know, in our first 4 years is when someone would tell us like, no. And we'd be like, let's do it. So, which is in essence a risk, you know, I mean, you're kind of going against what they're telling you is probably the smart thing to do. So maybe you'll see us take some risks this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see what you guys manifest.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. I had so much fun getting to talk with you guys. This is so great.
It was so nice meeting you. It was a pleasure.